about to do is unveil the book, and then, of course, we will then deep dive into another very, very riveting discussion coming your way.
Thank you, Shraddha, and thank you, FOAID, for inviting me, but also this wonderful chance to be with Professor Kapadia, and also to have time with Gurjit and Vagish, close friends, and to the rest of you, welcome. Lucio, it was fantastic to see your presentation. I think we'll just quickly dive into the book. I had a few questions for the two authors of the book. Maybe we can start with that.
Yeah,
please. What's really wonderful about the book is, we all think that the work that you produce, Gurjit, of course, I'm curious about your clients as well and how you convince them to do what you do. But what the book reveals is that actually it's a kind of negotiated result, that you're playing, this kind of back and forth with clients. And it reminded me of this amazing story that Doshi used to say about his own house. So I'll just maybe say that, and then you can tell me about a few of, particularly that house on the seaside. I'd like you to just tell us about that exercise. So Doshi was doing the house, and it had gone to the municipality for permissions, and then the architect calls from the office and says the engineer is not passing the plan. And so Doshi said, what happened? No, you've shown library on the top floor, and it's too narrow. The height isn't enough, and so he's not giving permissions. So then Doshi said, hold on, I'll come. And so he goes there. And then he says, so what's the problem? He said, no, this can't be a library. You can't have, He says, can it be a store? Store to ban sakta hai. So then he said, okay, store. If I put a cupboard there with some books in it, is that okay for, for us to? And then can I put a chair there? So then slowly the engineer also realizes what's going on. And so Doshi just cancels library and says, store in that, and that's how the plan passes. But there's wonderful stories like that in your book about these negotiations which then come, So can you tell us a little bit about that wonderful house on the beach side? You have this story about, I think it's client A. Is it client A? I've forgotten now. Yeah.
Client N. In fact, till last night, I hope you can hear me. Till last night, I kept asking him that please leak the paper. But he said, no, that is not possible. I'm going to ask you. And I don't know how he has picked up this story, which actually belongs to a client in Mumbai, a very, very famous client. So we were doing this house, and they didn't have so much time. So we made a beautiful curve, like some sketch, and it got selected as a beach house. And so everything was done, drawings done, etc. Ready to start the construction, contractor chosen, 6 months of work. And then one day the client comes and says, there is this Vastu person that you need to meet. We said, no, with Vastu, nothing will get approved. We knew it was doomed. And there is a full story on that, which is penned beautifully by Vagish. But in a nutshell, what happened was that when the Vastu man, we called him the Vastu man, he gave his points. They were very simple points. Nothing about the curve, nothing about basement, swimming pool inside the house, no comments. Only few minor changes. And we were quite stunned that, how come he's letting us go so easily? Because Vastu guys don't allow the architects to exercise their freedom. But on careful examination, we found that none of those things are in their proper place. And if you just wanted to place them, the entire design would go away. It was as if the sun rose from the west. And with this idea, we thought, if the sun rose from the west, if everything is wrong, we just flip the drawing. So once we flipped it, everything fell in the right place without changing a single line. So then I wrote to the client first. I said, see, we are struggling. It is impossible what he has asked. Maybe it was never possible. But hope there are no more points, because one more extra point and we would not be able to do. So he got a confirmation because Vastu man was very sure that those points can never be solved. And then I got the email from the Vastu man saying never in his previous experience he has met an architect who did not change a single line on his instructions and got everything as per Vastu. So the house is actually built a mirror of what we actually designed, the curves and everything, but it fits the site. Yeah. So that was how we managed. Yeah.
Also, I noticed in the beginning of the book, there's a small note that you've also contributed, ma'am, for the book. And you talk about how you have been reading these stories to Professor Kapadia. Is this a very long relationship that Professor Kapadia and you've had with Gurjit? Have you seen a lot of the work? And I mean, and how is this book sort of playing into that long relationship?
So I must say that. Okay. Let me tell you, Gurjit, a little bit about you and Sen, to begin with. I don't know. Gurjit, whom I met recently, though I knew a lot about his work from my husband, Sen Kapadia. Sen always talked about Gurjit's guts and mechanical solution to architectural situations, full of humorous and out of box. They both enjoyed subtle humor whenever happened to meet. When recently he came home to pay respect to my ailing husband with this little orange book, it was the dummy yet, that is the first time I met him. On his insistence, I started reading stories about stories to Sen and started chuckling first in and often bursting into the laughter. I was amazed by myself itself because I've never done that before, so much laughing while reading any book. I could even relate these stories to so easily as my husband used to frequently bring similar situations home. This book is full of witty humor. And I must say that there is a foreword by Ranganathan from foreword for this book, which I really resonate to my view of this book. And one thing I remember one story which was the monkey business. And maybe Gurjit can tell or Vagish can tell about the monkey business, which involves something to do with the medical world.
So architects face this difficulty of when you do the design, you need to test it. In this case, there was this luvers were done. Luvers is this metal luvers for shading from the sunlight. And the problem there was, always the problem was a monkey would come and jump on it and they will spoil it. That was a complaint. So now what to do? You need to test it for the monkey. Whatever the problem, you need to test it for that. If monkey is spoiling, the luvers have to be made monkey-proof. It means it has to be monkey tested.
One thing, so, just add to that. So my father, who was structural engineer, we posed the problem to him. You could just pass on the problem that you design it for a monkey jumping. And these guys, his team came back saying there is no code.
IS code for monkey jumping. Okay, you have for water, you have for load, wind, everything. But if you see the IS code, there is nothing for monkey. How do you test it now? But Gurjit always has a solution. He called one of his trainees, who is almost a monkey or a monkey, not in a pun sense. He told him to jump on it, the lightest guy who is actually, and then say that is the standard for designing this thing. So the louvers. That's how the witty situation. And then that's what they call it as a monkey business. Whether training the trainee or using him for the testing is a monkey business for him. It has multiple meanings actually. Thanks.
I also just overheard, Professor, you were talking about Gurjit being your favorite student. I can't imagine that Gurjit would have been an easy student to have because of all the mischief, but can you relate something from your experience with Gurjit?
Asking me?
Yes.
It's kind of, there are lots of things which I cannot tell here. But I'll circumvent them. So I didn't say favorite student, but I have always felt that I've been teacher mostly because not so much of an architect, but I have been teacher because I couldn't do anything else better. But somebody had joked that, you teach because you don't know how to do things yourself. Anyway, I don't mind. I did well enough being a teacher. But the thing was that I have always felt that teacher is one who has to be exploring in the student what he's up to. And that's where I made friends with most of the naughty students and difficult students. Not difficult in that sense, but they are the ones who make me think differently about my system of teaching. And I think that's where Gurjit fits best. I hardly taught him anything really, more than what he taught me. And recently, I was listening to what Zakir had to say about teacher. You all must have heard this. A teacher doesn't teach. A student must come and fetch what he wants. And I became exactly that. And I encourage students to, even today, a lot of my old students come back and they say, have you, sir, you remember? I said, no, I don't remember. Tell me your project that you did. And then I recall that, yes, there was something in that. The other thing I was famous for as a teacher was I used to tear drawings. I don't think I tore any of your drawings, but failed us. Well, I was being paid for that.
We failed in the end when he was teaching us. Always friendly, cracking jokes, sitting with us, everything. So we thought we are doing very well, When the grades came, failed. Our only regret, you will not believe, 2-3 friends, together we all failed. Our only regret was that he is not teaching us next time. And somebody else would come and teach,
I think that was at the back of Doshi's mind, that he did this system that every year you teach different grade, different year in architecture. The main idea was that you get to know right from first year to the final year thesis level, what goes into the curriculum or system of learning. And while I'm here, I also have a teacher of sorts for me, that's Sen. And not directly, but in many ways I have come across him, and I was a big admirer of his school when he started here. And of course, I have not kept in touch, but in between, when I was in IIT, he was selected to design a building there. And that's where I got to understand his way of working as an architect, right from design to getting a building executed. And so I'm honored to be with you on this platform, Sen Kapadia. He says he's proud of me. I don't know why.
A quick question. I think we'll also ask both of you questions. So, Lucio, fantastic presentation. I really resonated with one thing, and I think in a lot of Gurjit's work, I can sort of sense that as well, that the real joy of some of these projects, the magic of them, is the stuff that wasn't in the program of the project, that is the stuff that's in between all of that, that then is inventive and magical. How do you know, Gurjit? I mean, that last project you showed really resonated in a way in the work that Gurjit has done, that you seem to be pursuing something that is similar in a way to what maybe Gurjit is pursuing. What's this connection? How did you guys meet? What's the story?
Well, we share the same photographer, and that's one thing. The second thing is, whenever I met this photographer, he told me, you know what? You're going to meet a guy in India that you probably knew for other lives. Really? Why? Oh, it's because, I'm going to do a WhatsApp like group. It's going to be called Brutal Brothers. So he's my brutal brother. So he did that, and whenever we were like talking like, hi, I'm from India, and hi, I'm from Mexico, and then I said, Gurjit Matharoo, I've heard that before. I've heard that before. And then, so I Googled him, and I said, well, this is my hero like 20 years ago, and he's on my WhatsApp now, which was incredible. So, and then after that, he sent an extract of this, and then whenever I like saw the discussions and talkings and writings of these two, I said that I think the one thing that characterizes us to get along well is that humor is incredibly important in everything you do. And whatever I do in painting and music and architecture and whatever, humor has to be there always. So.
No, he's very, very generous and a very modest guy. I mean, I am his fan. I searched him. You know, if you drill a hole from Ahmedabad through the earth, you find him.
No. Well, thank you, Gurjit, and really a very pleasure and incredibly lucky to be here with all of you. And I love your book, and nice, very nice and well job done, and glad to be here. Thank you.
And how about you? What's the connection with Gurjit, and what's...
I worked with Gurjit for 15 years and was part of the editing process. But I think the book, sometimes when you're a part of the story, I think it's all a matter of perspective. Like when you're in the situation, I don't think you pick out the nuances like him and Vagish do. So it's a matter of perspective, which I think is so beautifully captured in this book. Like I could see a dog crossing the street and think, oh, there's a dog crossing the street. But they'll come back and create this whole context around it, saying this dog is happy and he's wagging his tail because he's stolen a ball from somewhere. Or, you know, just this whole story that they build up and narrate. Right. And it's great fun to hear. And I think that's the kind of truth that's in this book. And I think it'll be...
He has read the book maximum number of times.
Yeah. I think I hold that record.
Do you have a favorite story in the book?
Yeah, I'm there, but that's not my favorite story. I don't know. I think it would be really hard to pick, but I think there's one on the door, on the curtain door, which I really like. Right. I think you'll have to read it to find out what it's about. Sleepless nights.
That's right. And just to end, I think, is that fine, Gurjit? Do we keep going?
I have
yeah, please.
anything to add which I forgot.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I quite like most of his work. I like most of his work, but one thing that really amazed me was the beautiful way in which he designed the blood bank.
The blood bank.
Bus.
The van, yeah.
The van for blood bank. Right. And it was, I think it's not many architects who would venture. Coming from IIT, from CEPT to IDC in IIT, I realized that design is everything. And then I recalled, I think Corbusier wrote somewhere that a building is a machine and to live in. And whether it's in a bus or whether it's in a house, I think that was a different dimension which really amazed me. And I sent all my students when the bus was passing through New Bombay, right? Yeah. And I made all my students from product design to go and see that.
Yeah, also one of the things that the book really reminded me of, and I don't know, Vagish, if this is true at all, but it reminded me of Shame, you know, the Rushdie novel. You know, the city of Q and all of these characters who are just alphabets. I don't know if you know the book at all. But Rushdie is like that as well. It's all really kind of collapsing, but it's all really funny, you know, in a way.
Yeah, we had to hide the identities.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but also the city names. I mean, the megapolis on the sea and the city of Abad and M.A.S. Studio.
Yeah, so there is a whole language of abstractness that was added so that the names are not important, the character and what they're doing is important. Right. So everybody, in fact, it is not only in the book. Even in his office, he calls people by, her name is Trisha, he calls her T, and me he will call V, like that. So he does Not only in the book, he lives by the book, you can call it. So it's a reverse way. So a lot of city names, a lot of character names, and then the abbreviations. Even the title of the project is abbreviated. So there's a whole chapter on it actually, how nomenclature happens, and there's a whole game of it. In fact, in some of the nomenclature, what is happening is the abstract name he gave for the project, in the end, the characters on the site or on the project start becoming those names. And it starts becoming scary actually. So that is also captured here. So it's quite an interesting incident. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Gurjit and Vagish, for the book and for this opportunity to be with all of you. Professor Kapadia, it was wonderful to see you. I don't know if you remember, but we met years ago when we were making the film on Doshi. I came to the office and we had time together then. It's wonderful to see you. And Lucio, thank you. Trisha, Professor, thank you. Yes. Really wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.